Okay, hi everybody. Welcome and thanks for joining us this afternoon. I'm Nicole, founder of Tax Tank, and today's webinar is about the 3 biggest tax traps and how to beat the ATO at their own game. Today we'll share some facts and statistics that you may not be aware of, and we will highlight the biggest causes for audit adjustments and explain why tax should not be a once-a-year event. So let's get started. I'll share my screen one moment. Have you ever felt that you're paying too much tax or that you're missing out on well-earned deductions? Or that the whole system is just way too complicated to understand? Well, you are not alone. New research reveals that over half of Australians, 56%, are worried when it comes to tax, with missed deductions, mistakes, and fear of audits the leading cause. Worse still, the study also revealed 2 in 5, 42% have a distrust for the ATO, with 3 in 5 Australians, 63%, thinking the Australian tax system is downright unfair. But why do so many Australians feel like they're being ripped off? Well, if you watch the news or surf the net, there's no getting around the continual bombardment of ATO articles and advertising directed towards compliance. We made a little video to show just a few to highlight this point. I'm sure no one here today will be surprised to hear that the Australian tax system is not fun, it's not fair, and it's far from easy. To provide a sense of the quantum of the issues relevant for Australian individual taxpayers, I want to start with 3 key facts today. The first, in 2020, the ATO collected $552 billion in tax revenue. Of that, 42% was from individual taxpayers. And that's just salaries and wages. It doesn't include property taxes, taxes on insurances, state taxes, GST, or so on and on. The second fact, the Australian individual tax return is the most extensive and complex of all tax returns, and it's enforced by one of the most advanced compliance programs in the world. Currently, there are over 20 plus computer models run on every single return to detect abnormalities. And in 2020 alone, there were nearly 468,000 audit adjustments arising from these adjustments, with 13.7 billion being refunded to the ATO. And last but not least, the ATO actively employs tactics like nearest neighbour methods to, in their words, help you make better choices. This tactic of prompting individuals via letters for those who use tax agents or live messaging for those using MyTax is an effective scare tactic based upon an ATO-determined benchmark for occupations. As a result of this tactic, individuals not confident with their calculations frequently adjust their claims, which in 2020 cost taxpayers a tidy $37 million in potential loss deductions, and that was through MyTax alone. So what's the problem? The problem is that individuals clearly and unknowingly bear the brunt of our complicated tax system. They're getting it wrong and ultimately paying the price. So the question is, are you paying more tax than you should? And do you want to be confident you're claiming every possible deduction? Paying less tax is not just about maximising deductions. It's also about understanding how tax works so you can make decisions to control how much tax you pay. But how? I suppose there's one little thing, there's one secret every taxpayer should know, and it's commonly known in the accounting profession as the tax confidence triangle. There are 3 sides to the tax triangle, as you can imagine. The first, stop treating your tax return as a once-a-year event. One of the best ways to ensure you can claim every possible deduction and reduce stress each year is to dedicate time each month, or if you can, each week, to track your expenses. There are so many different ways to manage and organise your taxes, but it's important to find the right solution for you, especially if you have an investment property or properties or other incomes to keep track of. So whether you're a lover of spreadsheets or prefer the more traditional shoebox method, spending time each week collating deductions will mean no end-of-year hustle, chasing down a year's worth of transactions, and give you peace of mind that nothing is lost come tax time. Number 2, get it right to avoid tactics. Knowing what you can claim and what you can't is the biggest battle of all. And unfortunately, here's where we see a lot of individuals get it wrong and pay the ultimate price. Too much tax and potentially a penalty to boot. The rules are complicated and change frequently, so it's important to reassess your claims every year. For trickier calculations like home office expenses or capital gains, vehicles and depreciation, you can rely on a tax agent or utilize the online ATO tools and calculators to navigate these numbers. To assist, we have also added a heap of free downloads on our website and a comprehensive checklist of deductions to help make sure nothing is missed or forgotten at tax time. And the third, substantiate, substantiate, substantiate. According to the ATO, the #1 leading cause to an audit is when a taxpayer is unable to substantiate a deduction. As I mentioned before, nearly 468,000 taxpayers failed to substantiate deductions in 2020, amounting to 13.7 billion of lost taxpayer money to the ATO. To avoid becoming an ATO statistic, you need to keep your receipts organized and, of course, readable. And the best way to do that is go digital. Keeping a digital copy will mean no faded receipts over the years. This is especially important when you consider the ATO has 5 years to question your claims. And when it comes to properties, keeping digital records of capital expenses, important dates, market values can save you thousands in GST in the years to come. So do yourself a favor and ditch the paper. The time and stress saved is invaluable. But who has the time, right? Keeping manual records does require time. And let's face it, who has that? But don't worry, there's a faster, smarter, better way. A simple solution to automate everything in just a few minutes a week, starting from $9 a month, fully tax deductible, of course. Moving away from multiple spreadsheets and the box of faded receipts to software can be a game changer. Cloud-based tax software can be accessed anywhere and anytime with live bank feeds and built-in automation to organize all of your incomes, deductions, to deliver a transparent position to your tax at any time in the year, and of course, the stress-free tax time. And that essentially is why we've built Tax Tank. So let's take a look. Let me just share my screen. Okay, we're just going to jump into a test user. Ruby 16 today. Okay. So Tax Tank is the new low-cost cloud-based software to do away with manual records. We comprise our, basically we've broken up the tax return into what we call tanks, which enables a modular system so you can track your different incomes and expenses depending upon what you have, and you can alter that through the year. Work Tank, which will manage all of your work-related income and expenses, including dividends, monies from trusts, and any of your work-related expenses, including logbook claims for vehicles, depreciation, and even vehicle loans. The Property Tank will manage all of your property income and expenses, and you'll be able to increase your portfolio over time, and you have full control as to how you're going to manage and see that information. We actually have a webinar this afternoon which will run through the Property Tank in more detail, but essentially you're able to have a little snapshot of each property, equity position, cash position, and tax position at all times. And most importantly, we have our Spare Tank, and the Spare Tank enables you to find any documents year after year throughout the system when you're attaching receipts, whether that's via your live bank feeds or through one of the tanks themselves. We will collate all of your receipts in the Spare Tank, and every year as you roll forward, you're able to access them at any time. The tax summary delivers you that real-time position, so you know exactly where you're standing, and it will adjust every time you allocate transactions all throughout the year. And of course, reporting. Reporting is a nice way to be able to track all of your properties, motor vehicles, depreciation schedules, and if you're a DIY lodger, then you have the My Tax Report at your fingertips to save you time and money on accounting fees. So we have a little bit of time today. We're not going to go into the software too much because we are running demonstrations on getting started, but if we have any questions, then we can most certainly accept them now. Yes, okay. So the reporting we are continuing to roll out, and just to give you a little bit more demonstration for rental properties, which was the question, in Tax Tank, you're able to select any of these tax reports, which are effectively what you would get at the end of your tax return. And then you can customize to see all properties or a specific property. So you're able to monitor your rental income and expenses and net positions at any time. Can my accountant see my file? Yes, so in Tax Tank, you're able to invite not only co-owners of properties, you're able to invite your accountant as well. Oops, one moment. So just through our user settings, you can invite your accountant and you can invite advisors. So if you're a member of a property group or if you have a financial planner, you're able to invite as many advisors as you'd like to view your information. And if you have co-owners, this is also where you would invite them. Yes, we do. So we have full life support 24 hours a day, 7 days a week through our support channels. And we also have abundance of help articles to help people get set up quickly and search any of our topics. We have a range of videos, tutorials, which we're already increasing out. So you're able to see how calculating capital gains tax or logbooks or depreciation is done within Tax Tank in a nice little short video, which is helpful. Yes, the Property Tank demo is later on today. It's at 4 o'clock this afternoon. So we'll be running a specific demonstration on all of those common missed deductions for a property investor and how we have automated things like depreciation, borrowing expenses, and we've built in some tax tips and tricks to be able to automate and maximize deductions for properties all throughout the year. How do live bank feeds work? So we use an Australian aggregator called Basic for all of our live bank feeds. But basically, you will link your bank, you'll select your bank and you will link it. And then once you do link your bank, they will show up here. So you can select any of your bank accounts in Tax Tank. Once you do that, we will actually list each account or loan here. And at midnight every night, we'll pull transactions from the day before for quick allocation. Yes, so at the moment I'm in the current financial year, but if I wanted to go back to do my last year's tax return, I can simply go back to whatever year I'm looking to allocate and record for. And in this particular test file, I can see I've got some unreconciled transactions. And so I can easily go into any of these properties or bank accounts and allocate. Yeah, good question. Okay, so allocating in Tax Tank is pretty simple. So whilst we're here, if I was to select this transaction, I can select multiple, and I can select multiple transactions by a category, or I can select them individually. We have 3 options of allocating in Tax Tank. We can allocate, find and match, and transfer. If I was to allocate this one, for example, which is an insurance, I'd simply select which category it relates to. I could attach a receipt and I can allocate. Transfer is from when money moves from one bank account to another, and it will basically, once you select your transfer, we will look for the transaction in the corresponding bank account, and when you allocate it, we will automatically allocate the transaction on the other side. And find and match is if you've already pre-entered an income or expense in one of the tanks. Maybe you've added an expense which you haven't paid until a later date. You're able to then find and match to allocate that transaction to a bank feed. So yeah, we can send you a link to the Property Tank demo later in the day, and it's also on our website. And how will it tell me how much I owe the ATO? So as you allocate, when you onboard, we will basically collect your forecasted income, which is reported on the dashboard, and you can adjust that forecast to your actual all throughout the year. So each time you allocate a transaction or add it in Tax Tank, we will automatically update your tax position in real time. And more importantly, we'll show you the percentage of tax you pay. Some people think that getting a refund is a good idea, but really it's the tax percent that they should be looking at to work out whether or not they're being tax efficient with their claiming. And for further information with regards to tax summaries, you can move across to the tax summary report. Once again, has actual and forecast. And then you can basically select through the same tanks and drill down into the information to see what's going on and how these numbers are being comprised together. Any other questions? So tax tank starts from $9 for the work tank, and then it is $24 in total for up to 2 properties, which is fully tax deductible and obviously a small price to pay to be able to manage everything in one place. And if you do use a tax accountant, then generally providing information in this format is going to save you money. New features, certainly we have some new features coming. In particular, we have the Sol tank, which will be a new tank enabling people with ABN sole trader income to do their invoicing and manage their income and expenses, and obviously see what impact that particular income has on their overall tax summary and their overall tax payable or refund at the end of the year. So for every additional property over 2, it's $3 a month. Yep, and obviously we have some new features and things with regards to the work tank and budgeting, which I know has been a couple of questions here. And so we'll be releasing some basic budgeting forecast over the next couple of months, which will enable people to set budgets for their personal income and expenses, and obviously monitor that throughout the year or month, depending upon how they want to see that data. Okay, yeah, well, thank you for joining us today, and we will most certainly send everyone a link with regards to other webinars. Oh, hang on, one more question. Crypto, yeah, so the holding tank, well, the holdings tank, I should say, is currently under design, and we're hoping to release that in September. And the holdings tank will enable the recording of not only shares but cryptos, and as you add them and as you sell them, we will automatically calculate any capital gains tax and the implication in your tax summary as well. Okay. Yep. Capital gains tax. Yeah, sorry. Last question for the day. So capital gains tax, we do automatically calculate all of the capital gains tax for properties at the moment, and you can hypothetically you can see what that implication looks like. All of the information from your add backs and any structural improvements and all of your capital costs, we will pull from the system to be able to provide you with a very accurate CGT position, so you can make better decisions even before you decide to sell the property. Okay, so thank you everybody for joining us today, and we might see some of you at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Of course, at any time you can check out Tax Tank. We have a 14-day free trial, and if we have any questions, feel free to contact support and let us know. Thanks again for your time. Bye.